Trump, special master, the judge, the corrupt hack of a judge, refuses to stay her own decision. Okay, look, she refuses to stay her own decision to set aside certain documents that a special master, independent third party answering only to the court, should not be able to review. At this stage, which is, doing sort of a triage of the documents as to whether or not the DOJ should have even had them in the first place. People are going after the judge in all variety of respects. What do you make of this? I think it was a totally predictable decision. What do you make of the circumstances? What's going on now with Trump?
Well, when judges are not political, the legal community on the left then attacks them. And it's the same community that says you should never question the political orientation of a judge. So just like when they say democracy, they mean their power. When they talk about objectivity, they mean their side. And so this judge's ruling is frankly impeccable. It's unimpeachable. The judge's ruling it's common sense. It's commonly done in America on a regular basis. Whenever there's been any seizure that involves any claim of privilege in those documents of any type, the protocol is to not have the government decide whether it's privileged or not to contaminate the investigation by having them look at those cases, the potentially privileged documents, but to have a special master, an independent judicial appointee, usually as here, an ex-judge, who reviews to make sure that these are documents the government has a lawful right to have in its possession. And it usually works, frankly, to the benefit of the government, because the special master provides an independent gatekeeper, and the special master's decision is often not second-guessed by a subsequent court. It prevents a later argument that the government looked at documents they weren't supposed to and created a tainted fruit from a tainted tree that contaminated the rest of their case. And this is why John Ratcliffe, former U.S. attorney, head of the Office of Director of National Intelligence under President Trump, said that this is common sense and that smart prosecutors welcome a special master. So the question is, why did they go so berserk and so ballistic on this judge? Not only the Department of Justice in demanding she stay her decision and filing an appeal contesting it, but so much public criticism from so many people, including Bill Barr and others. When the arguments they were making had no legal merit, that their arguments were truly meritless. You'll find very few cases ever overturning the appointment of a special master, number one. Number two, you'll find plenty of cases where there's even an arguable claim of privilege where a special master was appointed. What she did was customary and commonplace and constitutional and correct. And again, can often work to the benefit of the government more often than its detriment. The only time it's bad for the government is when they know they seize things they should have never seized. And when they know they saw things they were never supposed to see. And that's when they get paranoid. That's when they go ballistic. That's when and this was John Ratcliffe's point. He goes, he said this beforehand, as I did, if they complain about the special master, you know that they know that anybody independently looks at these documents is going to second guess what they did and why they did it. And because the judge appointed, by agreement, the government didn't object to this particular person's appointment. They're continuing to object to any special master, but this particular one they didn't. And why would they? He's an establishment-oriented federal judge from New York who sat on the FISA court or was a FISA court appointee who rubber-stamped the government on a regular basis. This is not somebody who has a history of challenging institutional power at all. Now, why Trump picked him, that's another arguable point. I don't know if he knows something I don't know. I would not have recommended him, to be frank about it. But again, maybe they know something I don't. But it tells you how nuts the government's position is. They're going crazy about a federal judge who's been a FISA court judge, who's been a pro-government judge his whole life, from simply looking at what they did and looking at what they got. What that tells you is they screwed up, and they know they screwed up.
Well, does it tell you that they screwed up? They know they screwed up, but they want to use the fruits of this, the poison fruits of this tree now. Like they've seen stuff that they shouldn't have seen. They want to use it. They know that they won't be able to use it if a special master sees it. Or do they have stuff that Trump had, which is damning on them, that they don't want the special master seeing? Because if the special master is playing ball with the Justice Department, special master will see damaging or compromising information about the Justice Department, they won't say anything publicly about it. It seems it would be the other way around, that they know they got something bad, they want to use it, they won't be able to use it if the special master sees it.
It's all of the above. So they admitted to the judge that they had already looked at documents that they had already flagged as privileged, and that they didn't remove those people who looked at it from the investigative team. Problem number one. Problem number two, their filter team was part of the same department, the same group of people bringing the prosecution investigation. This is not how a filter team is supposed to operate in the first place. So basically, and they've already admitted they looked at everything. So if this judge finds any of these documents is something they shouldn't have looked at, they've completely contaminated their case if they were ever planning on pursuing one. I have skepticism that that was their objective. And that's why I think the second reason is the more likely reason. The second reason is that the documents will show, I think, two different things. One, that they seized a bunch of documents that they never should have seized in the first place. That a bunch of them will be documents that had no business claiming were even subject to the subpoena or the grounds for the search in the first place. And so that's embarrassment number one. It means Fourth Amendment violations just continually against President Trump. The other is that what is in there both isn't what they're claiming, in other words, they're trying to make a big deal about it, suggest somehow it's nuclear, national security, and it won't measure up to that at all, and they'll look like idiots. And at the same time, there's probably whatever else is in there that might be really significant is likely damning of the deep state itself and of many of these people's allies or they themselves. And so that it exposes their own illicit behavior. So that frankly is the only reason to object to a special master. There's the reason they're citing is they're saying even a FISA judge shouldn't look at classified information. And what this really is about the bureaucracy getting to say we get to keep secrets from the American people, including the elected president of the American people. Because they're saying we get to declare what's classified, the president doesn't. We get to declare what's declassified, the president doesn't. And only we can look at it, not the president, not the judge, not anybody. This is about, they believe that because secrets are power in our deep state. This was the brilliant point of Julian Assange, that the foundation and fundamental critical component of all of sort of deep state corruption is secrecy. You remove secrecy, you remove the capacity for the deep state to be continually corrupt and get away with it without major public rebellion. And so just like they kept a lot of things secret in the vaccine context, kept a lot of things secret in the election context, kept a lot of things secret about every war we've ever fought and overseas engagement we've ever been involved in, there's secrets here that they don't want anyone to see. And the reasonable inference is that those secrets damn them, not damn Trump. But it's also an attempt to say the deep state is legally more powerful than the elected head of the president, the elected head of the executive branch, than the president himself. That the deep state is more powerful than the American people. That the deep state is more powerful than the Constitution itself. That's the legal precedent they're trying to set here. That's why, like, to claim that Trump could have no interest in his own documents as the elected president is insane.
I'm trying to find the video of Bill Barr. I think I just got it right here. Hold on. Let's listen to this. The idea that they're basically saying we're going to override or ignore or try to set aside the judge's decision, which just tells us to be transparent with the third party special master. We get to see it and then decide whether or not the special master gets to see it, to see if we should see it. It is the administrative state taking over the executive. It's taking over.
Now, in the judicial branch, they're saying the constitutional judicial branch, doesn't get to second guess us. Just as the elected head of the executive branch doesn't get to second guess us. So let's listen to this fat fraud.
Now, Robert, no, we'll be nice. Attack the ideas.
I think it was wrong, and I think the government should appeal it.
Sorry, I talked over the beginning. Bill Barr, former attorney general, says, I think the decision is wrong, and I think, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, they should appeal it. They're going to appeal it to a higher court, but their request to the judge to revise the judge's own decision didn't pass the muster test. Here,
opinion, I think, was wrong, and I think the government should appeal it. It's deeply flawed in a number of ways,
which I won't
mention.
mention.
I think the appointment of a special master is going to hold up. But even if it does, I don't see it fundamentally changing the trajectory. In other words, I don't think it changes the ball game so much as maybe we'll have a rain delay for a couple of innings. But I think that the fundamental dynamics of the case are set, which is the government has very strong evidence of what it really needs to determine whether charges are appropriate, which is government documents were taken, classified information was taken and not handled appropriately, and they are looking into, and there's some evidence to suggest that they were deceived, and none of that really relates to the content of documents.
Robert, I listened to this. And we don't even need to finish it. It's just rubbish. I listened to this, and I listened to it or hear Bill Barr basically giving strategy tips to the Justice Department. This is not like an assessment. This is, okay, guys, you better pivot now because you're going to get burnt on what you initially said. And here's how you should be framing it going forward. Am I wrong?
No, I think that's exactly right, because they need to maintain the pretext. I mean, listen to those ludicrous claims to say that the president of the United States couldn't have the government's documents. The president is the government. He is the constitutional manifestation of the government. There is no executive branch without the president. I mean, it's insane doctrine. What you're seeing is a deep state hack, which is what Bill Barr has been his entire life, part of the Bushite corrupt political regime going back. I mean, if you combine corruption and incompetency, the peak of the deep state and elected political power, chances are the last name is Bush, or somebody affiliated or associated with Bush. And that's Bill Barr. That's how he got into political prominence, aside from his dad's connections to Jeffrey Epstein and writing about wanting to sexually assault underage women. So while he was headmaster of a school involving underage girls. I mean, is it really a coincidence Jeffrey Epstein died while Bill Barr was attorney general? A lot of people on the right ignored that because Barr was pretending to be a Trump ally. And so he got away with it. Remember, he's going to meaningfully investigate. Well, whatever happened to that investigation? Kind of like the Hunter Biden investigation, got quashed. Joe Biden investigation, got quashed. Election fornication investigations, got quashed. All Bill Barr. The most corrupt attorney general in American history is Bill Barr. So Bill Barr, I bet, is nervous about what might be lingering. Bill Barr came into political prominence and power. I'm going to be doing a hush-hush on the history of Bill Barr. Political prominence and power by covering up CIA crimes for CIA Director Poppy Bush when the House came investigating in the post-Watergate era. That's who the man is. So, yes, your analysis is precisely right. What he is here to do is to cover up and facilitate it. Rupert Murdoch is promoting Bill Barr because he is part of a deep state-aligned agenda that never wanted Trump in and doesn't want Trump to return to power. That's why you're seeing him on Fox all over the place when Barr is increasingly a hated figure on the political right. Fox would be better off having somebody who could be more like Sean Hannity, be a fake conservative. A fake conservative can get away with it in ways that Bill Barr can't, because everybody knows what a fraud he is now. And so his argument, but that's the insanity of this. It's as if the word classification has this magical attachment to it that's independent of the elected head of the executive branch. Everybody in the executive branch only has power because the president gave it to them. The idea that they could restrict the president makes no sense at all. That's no longer a constitutional republic. That is an administrative state bureaucracy that has completely scrapped our Constitution. It is a coup on the Constitution, is what Barr is recommending as a legal precedent, that the president couldn't have the government's documents, the classified documents. The president decides what documents he gets to have because he is the government as it relates to anything within the executive branch. He decides whether something's classified or not. There's no rule or protocol you have to go through whatsoever. And the fact that that he and these other people are pretending there's some sort of impregnable separate basis by which documents become government documents, national security documents, and classified documents that could prohibit the elected head of the executive branch from looking at what his underlings are doing is insane. It's a constitutional coup. It's what's been happening since the end of World War II in American government on a routine and regular basis. But it's never been constitutional. It's never been the legally correct position. And it would require a corrupt or partisan 11th Circuit to overturn the district court's decision.